Hello, Singapore. Welcome to the ACE workshop. Thank you to Jay and Kay and everybody over in Sunrider Singapore for inviting me to do this training for you. And so I want to ask each and every single one of you guys a question. How many of you guys are ready to take your business to ACE and beyond? Give me a show of hands. Let me see. I think that's everybody here, right? Because if you're in this room, then you're in the right place. And they say that 80% of success is just, if you've ever heard my trainings before, you probably know this, it's just showing up, right? And so the fact that you are here means that you're already 80% of the way there. Now, since I can't get around to each and every single one of you, could you please do me a small favor? I want you to turn to the person next to you, give them a high five, and say, congratulations on being here. All right, thank you so much. I hope everybody actually did that. Now, I can't see you because obviously this training is pre-recorded, but I do hope that you all gave each other a little bit of that congratulations. Now, I am so glad that you are here because I know that the fact that you're here means that you are dedicated to take your business to that next level. You're looking for a bit more success, a bit more results, and probably you want to get there a little bit faster. Is that true or true? How many guys would like that? And I think that's most of you, right? Well, perfect. Well, today I've been asked to deliver two different training topics. And I want to start with the first one, which I think is so fundamentally important, but it's also something that people really don't understand just how important it is. And so a little bit about me. My name is Raman Chen. I am the Regional Field Training Manager for Southeast Asia. And my role here with Sunrider is to create a lot of the training frameworks that you do use in your everyday building of your business, to give you skills, to give you mindsets, and of course, different tools that you may need to actually go out there and build your Sunrider business and take it to that next level. And so today, for a special training, even though this topic isn't actually in our Sunrider Success University, this unit that we're going to go over today is kind of like a companion to a lot of the different units that are already in the SSU. And we're going to deal primarily today with this unit, with your mindset surrounding the topic of prospecting. So let me share my screen real quick and we'll go from there. So if you don't know a bit about my background, I was actually a distributor, an IBO in this industry for the better part of 17 years. I built a very large business all around Southeast Asia. I was in about 11 different countries. I had about 15,000 direct downline under me, and my business turned over more than 4 to 6 million US dollars on average every single year. So everything that I teach, everything that I talk about comes from personal experience. I didn't just read a lot of this in the books. I didn't just go and attend seminars and learn about the industry, but I actually applied that knowledge and I used it to build a very successful business. That business, of course, I then gave to my mother, but I love the industry so much, even after a few years away, I'm back here doing what I love the most, which is teaching, helping, guiding, mentoring, coaching others to find success with this beautiful industry that we're in, known as, of course, direct selling or multi-level marketing, MLM. Now, for me, when I first started in this industry, I was 18 years old. I wasn't very good at almost anything, right? I wasn't even in my best health, so to speak, my best state of health. And so for me, getting started was a difficult process. But something I learned very early on was that if you want to be successful, what you need to do is you need to find successful people. You need to find who the top performers are and do what they do. How many of you agree with that? Yes? I think most of us can understand that, if we can find who the top performers are in our industry and we just mimic and copy what it is that they do, we'll be able to generate even a small fraction of their results. True? Absolutely. And so that was one of the key first questions I asked. What do the top performers across the entire industry have in common? And so at first, I wanted to do a lot of research, and I started within my own company. And the best place to do that is, of course, you go to convention, right? So if you guys didn't come to convention to Taiwan this year, you definitely got to go to LA next year, because the top performers are going to be there. And you'll get a chance to ask them questions. You get a chance to interview them. And so this is what I did. I went out there and I looked for the top performers, not just in my company, but across the industry. And I asked them questions. I'd be very humble and I reach out and I ask them very specific questions. And the one key thing I found is that success leaves clues. I want you to write that down. Success leaves clues. It's not a secret, right? There is no secret to success, because the clues, the signs, what you're supposed to do is absolutely everywhere. And the more people I talk to, the more I realize that everybody is the same. The top performers in this entire industry is those who make the most money, those who have the largest organizations. They all did the same things. Now, they had different names for it. They had different ways they did it. But essentially, the actions that they were performing were all the same. And you could break it down into 3 categories. All right? And so I don't know if you've seen this before. I hope you have somewhere in one of my trainings. But these are the 3 key things, or the 3 key categories of actions that you can perform in this industry, which will bring you success. Everything else probably does not contribute as much as these 3 things. But these 3 things are the absolute key. So what are they? Well, it's this. It's enroll, train, and retain, right? The only way you're going to make money or generate an income, results, and success in this business is if you perform these 3 categories of actions, which is to enroll new people, to train the people you have, and of course do activities to keep and retain those that who are already in your team. Now, the key difference I found between those at the very, very top, the top performers, the most successful people in the industry, and those who are in the middle and the bottom, was the percentage of time that they dedicated to each of these 3. Now, as I built my business and I did more trainings and I went around and I do leadership trainings, especially with other leaders, and try to help them, I guess, improve their results, was I would always show them this and ask them, all right, well, what percentage of time should you or do you dedicate to each of these 3? So right now in your books, in your notebooks, I want you to write these 3 categories down. Draw a little pie chart like this with a line and then another line and another line. Write enroll, train, retain. And I want you to write down what percentage of time you're currently spending doing enrolling actions, what percentage of time you're currently spending doing training actions, and what percentage of time you're currently doing retaining actions. All right? So take about a minute as I'm talking right now, and I want you to have a think and write that down. Enrolling actions are, of course, going out there to prospect people, to do ABC table talks, to do one-on-one presentations, to bring people to OPP, our health and prosperity meetings, and of course, continuing to follow people up. Any type of action that brings in new people, whether it's a new retail customer, a new preferred customer, or a brand new IBO, that is an enrolling action. So what percentage of time are you currently spending on doing enrolling actions? Training. Now, training's pretty self-explanatory. Here right now, you are actually performing a training action, being at the workshop, right? And it's not just receiving training, but also delivering training. How often do you train your customers on products, on product knowledge, or your team on product knowledge? And how often do you spend time with your team doing training on mindset and skill set and business skills, right? How much time are you spending with them to teach them what to do, right? And also there's leadership trainings, right? So all of those are training activities. What percentage of time do you spend right now doing training? And the last category is retention or retaining. So this is following up on people you already have. This is hosting parties, smaller team gatherings, events, team outings, all these different things that keep people with you, right? Keeping customers as customers and potentially becoming PCs and then IBOs, keeping PCs as PCs and of course potentially becoming IBOs, and keeping your IBOs as IBOs to actually continuously step up and to perform better and better. So they're not just customers with an IBO title, but they're going to actually be contributing members of your team to grow your meetings, to grow your team outings, to grow the size of your organization. Those are retention actions, right? So that they can do more enrolling. And so that's why it's a cycle. It continuously goes through. The more enrolling you do, obviously the size of your organization will grow. And so I hope you've had enough time now, as I've explained it, to write down what percentage. And what I found is that throughout my different interviews and talking to different leaders and talking to different people in this industry is that the most common percentage is this: 33. Everyone thinks that even if they're not doing a third and a third and a third, they think that the best way or the most common way, I guess, is to do it like this. However, you find that this is actually incorrect thinking. So if you've got 33, likely you're in the bottom 50%, in the lower 15% of income earners in this industry. All right. So you're in the bottom 50% if you have split your workload like this. Now, another common one that comes out is that it's 50, 25, 25. Now, this is a little bit better, and you'll probably be between 50 to 75%, but you're still not quite there yet, all right? And of course, another way that people split it, some people do this. Now, if yours is like this, what I found that generally, if this is the way it's split, you're in the lowest 10% of this industry, which means you're in the very, very bottom tier, right? The most, like the people who barely make a thing in this industry are those with this, all right? We're talking, this is not the best way. And so definitely we don't want this type of a split. And so the question becomes, what is the best way and what do those people at the very, very top do? And this is something that I found. The more people I spoke to at the very, very top echelon of industry, the more of them did this type of a split, where 80% of their effort is still on enrolling. And I'm not talking about brand new people. I'm talking about people who have been in the industry for 5, for 10, for 15, for 20, for 25, for 30 years, and they've maintained their ranking at the top of their company. We're talking top income earners, top growth, top everything in their companies. They still spend 80% of their time enrolling and only 10% of the time training and 10% of the time retaining, right? Because they've built systems to take care of the training and the retention. So it frees up their time to do more enrolling activities. And that was the one key thing that I understood, was that I needed to spend the majority of my time building this industry, right? In Chinese, they say 做业绩, yeah? You have to go out there and you have to get results, right? And so enrolling, training, retaining is the key 3 things, but 80% of our time needs to be in enrolling. So if you are looking for more success, if you're looking for extra income, if you're looking to grow to be top of the top, start changing the way you prioritize activities. Start changing the way you organize your timetable and your time spent in doing Sunrider so that it looks more and more and more and closer to this 80, 10, and 10. All right? And so let's move on a little bit. This is definitely the right way. This is what we want to do, okay? And so what I want to talk about with you right now, though, is 2 concepts that really help me understand the importance of what prospecting is all about. And these 2 concepts, or these 2 laws, so to speak, they're universal, all right? If you understand what I'm about to share with you, if you truly get it by the end of today's training, then you're going to have a completely different perspective when it comes to building this business. And the first thing I want to share with you is a story. And it's the story about the sower, okay? So this is called the law of sowing and reaping but the story is about the sower. And this story, the story of the sower, comes from the Bible. All right. And so the first person I heard this story from was a gentleman named Jim Rohn. I don't know if you know who Jim Rohn is. If you're not familiar with Jim Rohn, you need to get familiar with him. Jim Rohn, R-O-H-N, Rohn, he is like the godfather of our entire industry and the godfather of the entire personal development industry. So he is every mentor's mentor, kind, so to speak. He first got his start early on in the 70s, but he became very, very successful in network marketing, and he went on to do a lot of talks, wrote a lot of books, and do a lot of audios to teach other people the correct mindset. He was one of the first pioneers of this industry and, of course, of direct sales to help people understand that success is 80% mindset, right? It's the actions you do, but with the wrong mindset, you're never going to get anywhere. And one of the best stories I ever heard was Jim Rohn sharing the story of the sower. And this is how the story goes. So, the sower, it starts off like this. The sower was ambitious. There was an ambitious sower. And he had excellent seed. Now, that's one of the keys, right? Your seed needs to be excellent. So what does that mean? It means you have an excellent opportunity. You've got an excellent product. Or you've got an excellent story to share. And of course, we know here in Sunrider, we do have an excellent opportunity. We do have excellent products, and we each have excellent stories to share. And so first and foremost, the sower was ambitious, and he had excellent seed, which I think all of us do. But here's the thing. As he started sowing, if you guys know what sowing is of course spreading seeds, right? You're planting seeds everywhere. And you have heard this terminology used, planting seeds. And so the sower starts sowing, but the first of the seed falls by the wayside. What does that mean? That means that it did not fall where it needs to be. It fell by the wayside, where they weren't supposed to be. And so because it fell by the wayside, the birds got them. The birds picked them up, the birds flew in, and it got them. So what does that mean? It means that maybe sometimes you're out there prospecting and you ask people to come along to the meeting, and then, it's 7 o'clock, the meeting's about to start, and you're wondering, where's my guests? Where have they gone? Well, guests don't always show up, and the reason is the birds got them. And you need to remember this. The birds are always going to get them, right? And so, for example, you speak to Tom. Tom really wants to come, and he had a great idea that, hey, I'm going to come to Raman's meeting. Raman said some great stuff about this Sunrider thing. I'm interested. But then someone stole that idea from him, right? And it was the birds. Now, here's the thing. Remember, the birds are always going to get some, right? The birds will always get some of the seed. But when they do, you have two options. Number one, you can go chase the birds. And I wouldn't do this. I would not advise this. Because if you chase the birds, then you leave the field, which means that it will distract you from your future. And it won't actually add anything to you, but it'll take away, it'll subtract and not add to what you're trying to achieve. And so it's important that you don't leave the field. And so the best thing to do when the birds get some, and my people here in Australia, whenever they come to me and say, oh, Raman, I'm so sorry, I invited so many people and they didn't show up. And I just look at them and I say, isn't that interesting? And because they've all heard this story now that I've told them time and time again, or from Jim Rohn, from me, about the story of the sower, they smile and they remember, oh yes, the birds. And so we have a laugh and we move along. But in the past, if you didn't know the story of the sower, when this happens, what do? IBOs, our team members, they get flustered, they get frustrated, and they just want to go chase birds, right? And so first and foremost, remember this. The birds are going to get theirs. Do not leave the field. You need to keep on sowing. So just like the sower kept on sowing. And if you want any secrets to success, this is one of the keys. Write it down. The sower kept on sowing, and so will I. All right, write that down. The sower kept on sowing, and so will I. Because if you keep on sowing, you can sow more than the birds can get. If you keep on sowing, there are not enough birds, right? There's a few of them, and they kind of get around, right? These birds, they're pretty nasty sometimes, but there's not enough of these birds. You know, my mentor taught me there's only like maybe 9 or 10 birds in the whole world. You know, there's only 9 or 10 these really miserable, nasty people out there stealing ideas from your prospects. But, you know, they might get around, but there's not that many of them. You can handle them, right? And when you meet somebody who's like a bird or somebody who's a bit of a dream stealer and who are pretty negative towards you, you think, hey, there's only a few more of you. I can handle that, right? And so the key thing here is you need to keep on sowing. Now, as the sower kept on sowing, the seeds fell on stony ground, and that is not of your making. So the story goes. So what does that mean, right? The ground can be stony, it can be rocky, the soil is shallow, and that is not of your making, which means there are circumstances outside your control. Sometimes you're just saying the right things, but just to the wrong person, right? Or maybe it's the right person, but just at the wrong time. And these things are not of your making. They're not for you to decide. Sometimes it will work, sometimes it won't. So don't get caught up on that. And of course, when that happens, what do? Do you get mad at the ground, or do you keep on sowing? Right? Of course, we keep on sowing. And so now, of course, some of the seed has taken to good ground, and of course, it starts to grow. However, because the ground wasn't that great on the very first hot day, what happens? It's growing, it withers, and boom, it dies, right? Not an easy thing to watch your hard work, your little sapling just fall over and die. And so what is this an example of? Say, I finally get John started, right? John's finally gotten started. I followed up so many times, and now he's finally attended a meeting, he's signed the form, he's ready to go, but 3-4 days later, somebody comes along and goes, boom, and he's gone. John's gone. And you wonder, what happened? He was at that first meeting. Why isn't he at this second one? I thought for sure John would last at least a week, right? And the hot weather is going to get some. So that's your third lesson here, right? Which is that the birds are going to get some are going to fall on stony ground. But the third thing is the weather is going to get some. And so what does that mean, right? Do you go and blame the temperature? No, it's not of your doing. And so it's very, very important you remember, isn't that interesting? Some just won't stay. Some are here for a reason, some are here for a season, some just don't stay. And you can't fix this. You can't change this. This is just the way it is, right? You ask me, Raman, why? Why is it so hard? Why does it have to be like this? Well, that's exactly it. This is just the way it is. We don't make the rules. We just live on this planet, and this is just the way it is. And so, isn't that interesting? Say that to yourself. Isn't that interesting? And move right along, okay? So we keep on sowing. The sower kept on sowing. And of course, again, the secret to the ambitious sower's success is that he keeps on sowing. He had to discipline his disappointment. And that's a key phrase to use for the rest of your life, right? Because you didn't set up the setup. You know, some are not going to say, that is not of your making. Those things are out of our control. But we just need to discipline our disappointment and keep on sowing. Next, the seed now falls on thorny ground. And then, so some people ask, well, what the heck? You know, first you got the birds, then you got the stony ground, and then you get the heat, and now you got this. How much more of this do I have to take? How much more of this do I have to deal with, right? But hang on, right? This is not the end of the story. And so this time, of course, it falls on the thorny ground. The seed starts to grow, but as it starts to grow, the thorns choke it, and it dies. And so here's another lesson, which is the thorns are going to get some. And what are these thorns? The Bible actually says what these thorns are. They say the thorns are just little cares, little distractions. Who knows? They're not of consequence. You ask John, why didn't you come to the meeting, right? And then John says, well, you can't go to every meeting. And then you think, well, why not, John? You're not full-time. All you need to just come to 1 to 2 meetings. And then John says, well, that the baby was crying, my wife was upset, I had to cook dinner, we had to go shopping. All these little things. People let little things cheat them out of big opportunities. Why? It's not of your making. I wouldn't worry about that one. I wouldn't be signing up for that class. Don't get into the why of this. It's just the way it is. But here's the good news. You can keep on sowing. You can keep on sharing the Sunrider product. You can keep on sharing the opportunity plan. Keep on sending that invitation out, because eventually what happens is the seed will fall on good ground. It always will. If you've kept on sowing, you've survived the birds, you've survived the stony, shallow soil, the heat, the thorns, and all of that, eventually your seed will fall on good ground. It always will. Remember that. If you share a good idea long enough, it will fall on good people. And that is absolutely key, as long as you have kept on sharing and kept on sowing. And so as the plant grew, here's the good news, and here's some of the not so good news, which is that some of the ground, the good ground, it did 30%, some of it did 60%, some of it did 100%. Some grew bigger, some grew shorter. And you ask, why the difference? Again, that is not of your making, right? It's just the way it is. In the beginning, when I first got started, I would try to make the 30%ers do 60% and found out it was a lot more than I could handle. I said to myself, you know what? I got you on board. I know you're only doing this little down here, but I'm going to help you do this much. And I'm going to help you succeed if it kills me. And it damn well nearly did. Because here's the thing. It's not of our doing. Something you need to remember is to let the 30s do 30 to the best of their ability. And that's how they build their lifestyle. That's how they get what they want. Let the 60s do 60s and let the 100s do 100. And how to get some to do 100? Well, you're going to have to get through the birds. You're going to have to get through the stony ground. You're going to have to get through the heat. You're going to get through the thorns. And then you got to let the 30s do 30 and the 60 do 60. And eventually, you're going to get those who do the 100%. And you have to go through a lot of people to eventually be able to talk to good people. And that's just the way it is. And so, if you do all of this, you will always reap what you sow. If you continue to sow the seed, if you continue to share the opportunity, you will get everything you deserve and more. Don't focus on the harvest so much that you forget to keep sowing. I want to repeat that for you. Don't focus on the harvest so much that you forget to keep on sowing. The biggest mistake I've seen in this industry is this is how people plant, right? If they were a sower, right? The majority of people in this industry, if they were a sower, this is what they would do. They'd put one seed. They would water that seed, try to take care of it, see if it grows or not. And when it doesn't grow or when it dies, now they'll plant their second seed, right? Imagine you are a farmer and that's your approach to farming. Your family will starve. Your business will die before you get anywhere. What we need to do is we need to sow lots and lots and lots of seeds everywhere with as many people as possible, and then watch which ones grow and work with those. Let the 30s do 30, let the 60 do 60, let the 100s grow 100, and let the birds and let the stone and let the heat and let the thorns have theirs, because they're going to get theirs no matter what, and we don't worry about that. All right? So that is the first law that you need to remember, which is, of course, the law of sowing and reaping. If you keep on sowing, it will fall on good ground. But the key is you need to keep on sowing. Not one at a time, but lots and lots and lots, over and over and over again. All right? So that's the first law. The second law I want to share with you is all about the law of averages. What is the law of averages, you say? Well, The law of averages is this. If you do something often enough, a ratio will appear. Write that down. All right? This is a very key phrase. If you do something often enough, a ratio will appear. In baseball, they call this a batting average, don't they? Right? In basketball, it's called a shooting average, which means that in baseball, maybe every 10 times you step up to the plate, you'll hit the ball 3 times. Yeah? Or in basketball, every 10 shots you take, you get it in 3 or 4 times, right? So in our business, what this means is for every 10 people you talk to, maybe 1 gets started, right? So if you keep talking to 10, you keep talking to 10, and every 10 you talk to, 1 gets started on average, right? A ratio has begun, and your ratio is 1 out of 10. So now you know, I talk to 10 people, I get 1. I talk to 10 people, I get 1 more. And so once it starts, it tends to continue. Talk to 10 more, get 1 more. Talk to 10 more, get 1 more. Now, even if someone else can get 9 out of 10 and they're that good, right? Guess what? The best part about the law of averages is that it helps you to compete no matter who you are. Let's say I just got started and I can only get 1 out of 10. You've got more skills and experience than me and you can get 9 out of 10. But across a 30-day contest, I will beat you. And you see, how's that possible? You talk to 10 and get 1. I talk to 10 and get 9. How do you beat me? Well, guess what? You talk to 10 and get 9. But I will talk to 100 and I will get 10. And I will beat you. Isn't that amazing? Because this is the best part about this. What you lack in experience, you can make up for in numbers. Remember that. What you lack in skills and experience, you can make up for in numbers, which means that how do you compete with those who have been in Sunrider for 20, 30 years? How do you compete with those at the top who are already icons and above? Very easily, by doing more work than they do, right? Hard work will trump talent every single time. And I was a super competitive person. I thought to myself, if this industry allows me to compete with those at the very top and letting a person who joins on day 1, brand new in this industry, within a year be able to overtake anybody, now this is an industry I want to be a part of. And that's what I loved about what it is that we do. Because it's not about skill. It's about how much ambition you have. It's about how much you sow, because you will always reap what you sow. If you don't sow, you don't reap, right? If you don't plant seeds, nothing grows and your family starves. But if you're willing to sow, you're going to be able to reap. And so, what does that mean? That means that once you understand the law of averages and that you can make up for in activity and numbers what you lack in skills, then anybody can achieve anything. Think about that. Anybody who is ambitious, anybody can talk to 10 and get 1. But guess what? As you keep talking to 10, eventually you're going to be able to get 2, right? And why? Because you got better. You've got more experience now. Eventually you keep talking to 10, and then you're going to get 3. Even it took me a very long time to get to 3 out of 10. I think the best I ever got was to about 3 out of 10 or so. No matter how long I was in this industry, it takes a lot of hard work to get to 3 out of 10. And very rarely did I ever meet anybody who did better than 3 out of 10 when it came to a long enough timeline, right? And so that is the key of the law of averages. And this will work so well for your business because you don't have to bat 1,000. You don't need to hit the ball every time. You don't need to shoot 100%, right? 1 out of 10 is great. 2 out of 10 is even better. 3 out of 10 is already fantastic. You know what? 3 out of 10 is enough for you to make yourself rich and achieve the success you want beyond your wildest dream. Anybody can get better at this, even if right now your ratio is lower than 1 in 10. On average, you're going to be able to get to that 1 in 10 and improve upon it if you do this enough. And guess what? This is how I started. I said, my story was, look, I've started this new business. I'm able to get about 3 out of 10. I don't even mind if you come along and be one of the 7, right? It doesn't matter because I know every no I get is one step closer to yes. And so if you're my friend, you'll do me a favor, right? It's not that important to me that if you like it or if you join or not. I just need to have 10 so I can get my 3. And you can be one of the 7, right? It doesn't really matter. But that's the key about understanding the law of averages. And the reason I'm reaching out is because you're my friend, and I know that, a year from now when I'm doing very, very well and I'm very, very successful, I don't want you to come back and say, Rama, why didn't you share this with me? Rama, why didn't you tell me? I thought I was your friend, right? Because I want you to see what I'm doing, even if you're one of the 7. It might not matter to you, but, it might matter to you, but it doesn't really matter to me which you are, whether you say yes or no. And so I just know that with the law of averages, every 10 I talk to, I'll probably get 1 or I'll probably get 3, right? Whatever you are at right now, it doesn't matter. I want you to remember the law of averages. So if you haven't gotten many people, right? If you're building this business and you look back on your last year, let's take a look at 2022 or the beginning of 2023 to now. How many new people have you gotten started, right? How many new IBOs have you gotten started? And then think about how many people in total have I actually talked to? And you have a pretty good idea what your average is. And most of the time, for most people, that average isn't as high as it should be because they've split their time wrong in between the enroll, train, and retain. And remember, we want 80% in the enroll. And so industry-wide, across a long enough time, you're going to get an industry average of somewhere around 10, 6, 3, 1, which means every 10 you talk to, 6 will show up to your meeting or show up to the ABC or the 101. Remember, the birds are going to get some, right? The heat's going to get some. It's going to happen. 3 will be interested and actually try and buy something, but only 1 will actually join you as an IBO and potentially build this business with you. So knowing that, what do we actually need to do? What is the actual sewing that we are doing? And of course, this is covered in our very first units of Sunrider Success University, 1011 and 1012, which is the prospecting process, right? The prospecting process is very, very simple. It's just a series of simple actions or steps taken in order to achieve a particular result. And the result we want is pretty simple. We want more customers, more PCs, more IBOs, more team members, more people on this journey with us, more people to come to LA with us, right? More people to walk that stage with us and win awards with us. More Sunriders all around the world. And the simple process is just this. Build some rapport, find their need and disturb it, then you offer the solution, and then you go into the opening. Now, if you want to know more about this, make sure you do attend our Sunrider Success University, where we go into these 4 steps in much more details. And if you want to accelerate this, it's very, very simple as well. How do you do this faster? Here's some simple action steps for you. First is, make sure you have a goal. One of the first things we do in FST or our Fast Start training is we help you set a goal, a SMART goal. Next is, you need to make a list. We start the list building process again in the FST. So if you haven't done it for a while, it's okay to go back. The FST does not literally mean that you have to be brand new to go through that training. Even if you're a little bit older in this business and you just want to start fresh again, you can use the FST to get you started, right? And of course, next is massive action. We need to take a lot of action, start building rapport, lots of need and disturb, lots of offering, solution, and opening after you go through that process. And this is what we're talking about, sowing lots of seeds, massive action, right? That's what we need to do because knowledge is no longer power. You have to understand that in the 21st century, knowledge is no longer as necessary or as valuable as it used to be. Why? Because knowledge is free. It's at the touch of your fingertips, right? If you have a phone, you can find whatever knowledge you want right then, right there, very, very easily. So knowledge is no longer power. Knowledge is potential. But being able to apply and use that knowledge quickly, that is what's going to get you results. All right? Very, very important. And next is, of course, you need to trust in the process. A lot of people say, you know what, I already know what to do. I've done it for a long time. Well, if you already know, are you getting the results that you want? To everybody who ever told me, oh, Ramen, everything you're telling me, I get it. I know it. I've heard this stuff before. Then I asked them, well, great. If you know all of this, are you getting the results you want? And if the answer is no, my question is why? If you think that you know enough or you're doing enough to be successful, why aren't you? And so there is a key that something is missing. Whether it's that the knowledge is just up here and it's not in here, or the knowledge isn't being taken action upon to a high enough level, something you are not getting. Because this is all there is to success, right? The law of sowing and reaping, the law of averages, having a goal, having a list, and getting out there and doing some work. Because these laws, the process is universal. Universal, which means that the more you sow, the more you reap. And you must keep on sowing. If you're ambitious and you have excellent seed, which is what we do have, and you keep on sowing, you're going to get the results you need. The more people you talk to, the faster your average will reward you. It's not rocket science, is it, everybody? It's very, very simple. It's not easy, but it's simple and it's worth it. Everything in life has challenge. Don't wish for less challenge. Wish you were better. Don't wish things were easier. Wish you were better. The secret of success is that it is hard. And that's why only few people get to the top. But then everything in life is hard. And so the key is you need to pick your hard. Only a few people ever do succeed because only a few people are willing to keep on sowing at that level for long periods of time before they see the results. However, I hope that after hearing the stories today, after seeing and learning all about the law of sowing and reaping and the law of averages and understanding the way we should structure our time, you'll be able to create the results that you are looking for, which is getting to ACE and, of course, beyond. Because that's all there is to it. The more you sow, the more you reap. Everything in life has challenges. Keep working hard and trust in the process. Because I guarantee you, if you're willing to give the effort and do the work, you will get everything that you deserve and more. So believe in yourself. Believe in your success. Keep sowing, keep sharing, and let's climb to the top together. That's it from me for this training. I'll be back again with the next one very soon. So I hope you've learned a lot. And if you ever have any questions, feel free to reach out. Thank you, guys.